This is a continuation from part 1 with my direct connections interview with Blake Andermann. Enjoy. Before we get into one of my favorite segments of Direct Connections, which is the six-pack, I have to ask you, do you have any advice for the listeners that is Mopar related, possibly even any advice for swapping a modern Hemi into a classic Mopar? Any piece of Mopar related advice that you can think of to give the listeners? Go ahead.
I would say, bar none, do it. You will not regret it. And the number one thing that I really hear from persons on the edge is they think it's complicated. The number two thing that I hear for people that are teetering on the decision is, I don't want to affect the value of my classic Mopar, or I don't want to affect the value of my vehicle. And nothing could be further from the truth. These engines are so direct bolt in that you could go back to original, numbers matching, all, whatever you want to the nth degree, you could put it back to original and not hurt your vehicle whatsoever. It's a bolt-in application. So, for example, I get a lot of flack, right? We have a real J-code AAR with a Gen 3 in it, and people's like, oh, it needs a 6-barrel. I get it. I agree. Like, it's got heritage there, but in a weekend, we can change it. And there's not one piece of sheet metal on this car that's been altered or impacted to where it can't go back to all original. So if you're on the fence for originality's sake, don't be. You're able to enjoy your car maybe while you rebuild that original engine and set it on the stand to the side. Don't be intimidated by it. It's very easy. The wiring it's simple, and we can help you get there, to get over that worry or that concern that it's too cumbersome and it's too difficult to do. Don't hold back. If you're thinking about doing it, then obviously you have some bit of your heart that wants the benefit that comes out of a Gen 3 Hemi. Just go with it. If you absolutely hate it for some reason, you just can't stand it, you can go back to stock very, very easily. So it's just like a no-lose situation. It's like, hey, I'm going to give you all this money. Just hold it. You could spend it if you want, but if you don't like it, you could give it back to me. It's kind of the same thing, It's like, just try it. It won't hurt you, And I think most people, when they actually just take the dive, they're just like, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah, that's awesome, because I never even thought about the reversibility factor. If I decided, oh, hey, maybe I took away from the value. I mean, let's just say I have a 68 Charger RT and I put a modern Hemi in it, and I'm like, oh, I still have the original numbers matching engine, and I just decided that I don't like this car anymore. I want a Cuda instead, and I want to get as much money as I can, and I'll probably get more money if I return it back to stock. You can still do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not irreversible. You're not altering the car permanently. That's really cool. I never really thought of that aspect of it. Excuse me. That's God. Great answer. Love it. Let me ask you this before we get into the six-pack. I just thought about this. It just hit me. Is your Cuda the only AAR that has a modern Hemi swap in it? Do you know of any others?
I do not. I know of some clones that have the Gen 3 in it, but I don't know of any true AARs out there. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know. You got to have tough skin sometimes to do stuff like that.
Send all your hate mail to Blake at no, that's actually, hey, that's bragging rights, man. I like that, because it says that you're not scared to go outside the box, because there's a lot of people out there that would probably never do that. I am with you 100%. I think it's awesome. You know what I mean? Because, how many people can say their AAR has a Hemi?
And I don't want to fluff it. And Chris, I don't want to fluff it here. It's like a 20 or a 30-footer car. The way I like to look at it, and I've had this discussion like on message boards and the good old Facebook, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, why would you do that? You ruined it. You ruined it." And when I just, have a calm discussion with an open discussion and said, hey, look, this thing sat in a barn for nearly 20 years, untouched, off the road. No one saw it. It has a non original numbers powertrain that's tired. So I could take this powertrain, this 340, go completely through it, spend, six to $10,000 doing all this work, and months down the road, maybe get it on the road. All this time and energy and worried about someone else's opinion. Or in the corner, I have this Gen 3 Hemi. It's ready to go, bolted in, and my 20-footer, my 40-footer car out there with nicks and chips and scratches and all that stuff. It's on the road, man. We're out there getting the thumbs up from the little kids and the old guys and out there just having a hell of a time. That's what it's about. And I had that discussion and said, look, it's not original number, and I can go back to original anytime I want if I ever, built this up and was able to acquire a TA block. A TA block alone goes for like $5,000 now.
Oh yeah.
So if you look at it, it's like it doesn't make any sense for me to sit on this car and let it collect dust and not let people see it and not enjoy it myself. That's probably the number one dream killer of projects, is just sitting there and not being able to enjoy it. So it it just doesn't make sense to me anyway. In my opinion, is get it out there, use it, love it, fall in love with the car. Let people fall in love with your passion of Mopars and spread that love out there. And then by all means, if you want to go numbers matching, do it down the road if you can.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And, you know, I've tried to convey this on the podcast as much as I can and every chance I get. And that's that I'm almost more of a fan. Actually, I would go out and I would go out on a limb and say that I am more of a fan of cars like yours, the 20 footers, than the car that I know, you know, Richie Rich pulled out a wallet and paid, $100,000 to have his car completely redone. Are those cars awesome and cool? Yes. I love all Mopars. But there's something about a car that I always look at it like the car was given a second chance. You know what I mean? You got that
Mm-hmm.
car back on the road and said, you know what? I'm not going to sit on this car for 10 years and wait on body work and stuff. And I like cars built as found. I don't know why. I've told my wife this before, and I was like, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm messed up in the head, but I still would rather see, like at a stoplight, if I'm at a stoplight and there's a ratty Mopar, it doesn't matter what it is, and a brand new Challenger, Hellcat, Demon, whatever, nice scat pack, wide body, something like that. My eyes are always going to, cool. It's going to go right to the ratty Mopar. And they don't even have to be ratty. I think that term is thrown around too much. Hey, these cars are old. You know what I mean? That car may not be ratty. It may just be lightly used. I like a quality used car. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Ran when parked.
Yeah. Yeah. Needs little. I need to make it down to where you're at. I want to see this car in person someday. I don't know when that'll be, but I got to see the car in person. It just sounds too cool.
Well, we're hoping to get it out there. I will be bringing it to Carlisle. Mo Party, I'm not sure yet. I would like to talk with Holly and see if they'd have us. I don't want to cause any issues. I don't want to go up to Holly and they're working on their thing and sees me as stepping in there, oh, I'm better. No, it's a community, man. So if they'll have me, I would love to go up there. And the car is a driver in every sense. So it actually, I don't know. Let me look left and right here and make sure nobody's out to jump out the bushes. But the car has been lowered 2 inches. It's got a Proturin suspension on it. It's got tubular upper control arms. I retained all the original parts. They're nice and safely packaged away. But the car is made to, like at LS Fest, they have an autocross. This thing, in the spirit of what an AAR was, it's a road race car. That's what they were designed after, that group. I want to get out there and inspire kids. I want to get in that car. I want to cut some corners and, show off those rock chips. I don't care. It is a driver in every sense of the word. And to me, that's the most important thing, is to just get out there and have fun with it.
Absolutely. And gosh, I keep trying to get to the close of this show, but every time we get on these little tangents, something else comes up. And I'm thinking to myself, I just went to visit my friend Kyle today to get some vintage Holley valve covers for free 18, and we were talking about modern Mopars, and he's building a car for somebody, and they were discussing whether or not they wanted to go, more factory, or if they wanted to get crazy with, modernizing the suspension and whatnot. And we were talking about the night and day difference of how cool it is to have a old Mopar, just, the torsion bar, all that stuff, versus modernized suspension, coilovers, and all that. And I want to get your opinion because
Mhm.
you've driven both. How much of a difference as far as night and day? And we obviously know it's crazy difference, but I like to hear it from the horse's mouth. Tell me what the difference is when you drive an old school Mopar versus one that's been upgraded as far as suspension goes.
Okay, that's a fair question. So, believe it or not, the old school torsion suspension is not that bad. Um, I would say it was a bit more of a boat like, stock. They did the best they could with their engineering and their designs back in the 60s and 70s. So in original configurations, they float a little bit. They're not as crisp handlers. It's not a modern car by any stretch of the means. But with companies like PST, Hotchkiss, and those that have come up with stiffer torsion bars, index for lowered center of gravity, and those things, they've taken that original design and they've improved on it. So you don't have to cut up your fender wells, and you don't have to cut out maybe bump stops and stuff on the front suspension and put a full tubular. You can if you want, but believe it or not, they've had some remarkable improvements on that original design. So looking at my car when I first had it, driven it around before the suspension upgrades, it was fun. It was very comfortable. The steering response was lagging. It just didn't dart where you wanted it to. And there are some limitations in that original geometry. So like the tuber control arms allow you to get much more caster and camer. So when you're talking about performance feel, just over time, as engineering has improved over the decades, they've learned what a better geometry is for suspension. All of your modern suspensions, they have this just better technology in them just with time. So a couple bolt-on aftermarket parts totally changes the feel for this vehicle. So right now, I'm gonna give you a couple technical specifications. It may sound like jargon, but we're at negative 1.5 degree of camber on the front, towed in about an eighth of an inch. I want to say very minuscule, and then we're running like plus 7 degrees of caster. This thing dives into the corners like a World War II, airplane. Like it's just dive bombing. This thing is it's handling like it's on rails, and it's just totally night and day different over the original configuration. So the improvements are there. It's the market's out there to really make these things handle more like a new car. What I can say about the really new stuff, like the new Hellcats and Demons, all that stuff, is they not only do they handle really well and they dart in and out the corners, but they also have like a really cush, comfortable feel when it needs to be comfortable. With the old school stuff, just being completely transparent, is when you make them handle like they're on rails, sometimes they ride like they're on rails and you feel a lot. So it's just the truth of the matter, but you can make it what you want it, and it just depends on how far you want to go down the rabbit hole.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, man, I don't know if you've looked at this clock, but we're approaching 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's what happens with Mopar guys. I swear to God,
I know.
it's just if you're passionate about something, you can talk about it forever. So I can't do that to you, and I know my wife would kill me if I walked into the bedroom at 4 o'clock in the morning, like, yeah, me and Blake, we were just talking Mopars all night long. So
Your wife's
let's
never
move
gonna.
on. My wife is so understanding of me and my like
That's awesome.
before we started this, she's like, I'm just gonna go upstairs and watch TV. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And I could hear it just barely. I could hear. I was like, hey, turn it down. We're making magic down here. Mopar magic's happening. So she's cool. She turned it down, but Yeah,
That's
she's
awesome.
amazing when it comes to this stuff because if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd be like, "So are you making money with that thing, or what is this? A hobby? Is you having fun with your friends on the internet? Are you talking to yourself in that little microphone you got? Cool, neat. How much money are you making? None? Oh, cool, neat. You're still taking up a spot in the garage where my Jeep's supposed to be, and you're not working on your project because you're making these podcasts. So we need to start thinking of what's more important in our lives: a happy wife, or but no, she's cool. Um, we were actually
That's cool, man.
I don't know if she'll be comfortable with me talking about this, but we kind of got in a little argument this weekend because I want a new Challenger, and she's on board. She wants a new Challenger too, and the thing was always, well, I want to be able to drive it too every once in a while. And of course, knowing that she's part of the decision making, I can't say, well, you ain't driving the Challenger, you out of your mind. So I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, yeah. And I've always been pushing because she doesn't know how to drive a stick, and that's partially my fault. We've had a couple cars that have had manual transmissions in the past, and we just never got around to teaching her. And so every time I see a 6-speed Challenger, I'm like, oh, this one would be cool. And she's like, oh yeah. I was like, 6-speed though, so sorry. And she she's like, oh, you're gonna teach me. And of course I'm a jerk, and I'm like, oh, the clutches in these things they're not forgiving, they're not like a Honda or something. But I won't get into too many details, but I found I've had this idea about a modern Challenger, and I kind of strayed away from wanting to get a new Scat Pack because I felt like it would be bad to butcher a new car with what I want to do to it. So I told her what I want to do. I said, "What do you think about something like this?" And she's like, "Oh, that's really cool." And she goes, "But I wouldn't drive it." And I'm like, "All right, well." Sorry that you won't drive it, but that's what's happening. So she got mad at me, and she's like, well, I thought that was going to be our car. We were going to go pick it out together and pick the color and whatnot. And I'm like, I don't think we've ever been on the same page here. And I was like, look, I'm going to do this to this Challenger, and if you want one, we can get another one. So in my head, I'm like, maybe this will be my way in to get two. But I don't know. I'm insane. I hope she's not hearing me right now and just waiting. She's waiting. She's hearing this right now, and she's waiting for me up in the bedroom, and I'm gonna get scolded when I go up there. Love you.
She is never gonna let you hang out with me again.
Trust me, if people got a glimpse into what I put my wife through with these Mopars, it's bad because I'm the Mopar hunter, man. I'm always looking at these cars, and I'd be a liar if every day I didn't have to bite my tongue to tell her, hey, there's this car, and I know we don't have the money necessarily, but just hear me out. It's a good deal, and we can always turn around and sell it, even though I know that there's no way in hell I'm selling it. I just want to get it in. I got to get it into the fleet because once it's in, it ain't leaving unless I really want it to go. But enough about me and my crazy wife in life. The 6-pack. Blake, I like to close out this show with a little segment I call the 6-pack, and it's a speed round of 6 questions that are Mopar related. They're this or that questions that kind of give listeners a little glimpse into you as a Mopar guy, what your tastes are. Mm-hmm. So if you're ready, Blake, we'll go ahead and start the 6-pack. Nothing hard, pretty easy. And you can also decide if you want to go in depth with your answer, or maybe you don't like either of those choices and you have a better choice. All right?
Sounds good.
All right, let's go. Dodge or Plymouth?
Dodge or Plymouth? I'm going to get burned. Plymouth.
Plymouth. Okay, perfect. Charger Daytona or Superbird?
Superbird.
Okay, Plymouth guy. I like it. FJ5 or FC7?
FC7.
Okay. I think I already know the answer to this next one, but I thought it was fitting for this conversation. Fuel injection or carburation?
That's a depends.
All right.
I'm a fuel injection. I'm a fuel injection guy. I am. But 3 carburetors is badass.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. I battle that all the time. Next, modern Mopars or classic Mopars?
Got to go with the classics, man. Got to.
It's tough because I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of all the modern stuff, and I would really love some support from Mopar, but there's something about the classic ones, and that's why DIY Hemi is so awesome, because you can have the best of both worlds.
Let's
Modern power plant, classic looks.
let's be honest. I'm not turning down a B5 Demon. I'm not doing it.
That's true. I would give up every Mopar that I own right now for a Demon. I'm not going to lie.
And some body parts too, right?
That thing is oh man. I I can live without a lot of them. A lot of them. I have been married long enough to know that there's certain things you just don't need after a certain amount of time anyway. All right, I'm really going to get myself in trouble on this episode. Jeez. All right. Next. um, Scat Pack or Rapid Transit System?
All right, I'm going to go against the grain here. You're expecting me to say rapid transit system, but I'm going to go Scat Pack. You know why? It's the B, man. That B is
Why?
just so damn cool.
I am with you. That's one thing I battle with myself a lot is, because I'm a fantasy guy. I think about, Mopars, and if I had the money to get the ultimate Mopar, what would it be? And there's something about a wing car that will never leave, the deep seated Mopar just obsession. I want a wing car. I don't think I can leave this earth without having one in some way, shape, or form. But I would die for an A12. God, I want an A12B so bad. And I thought for a while I was debating whether I wanted the Bird or the B. And there's just something about that 69.5 Super B that just, I don't know. I can't, I have to have one of those. And if it ever came down to a situation where I had the money and there was a B, an A12B, and a wing car, doesn't matter if it's a Superbird or a Daytona, and they were both the same price, I don't know if I would have to flip a coin. I don't know if I could actually make the decision. And I know when I see what that coin is flipped at, I'd probably be like, all right, well, let's just take a second mortgage on the house and let her rip. Let's take both of them.
You know what?
Because guess what, honey? We can always sell one and make some money.
I have to go with you there, man. I love the wing cars, but there's something about an A12 that just screams cool. That thing is so badass.
Yeah, man, factory race cars, there's just something about them. And when I think back to, the muscle car era, people that are not Mopar people that I talk to, because a lot of my friends are not, like on a personal level, like the friends I've known for years are not Mopar people. And I know they think that I have some sort of level of crazy inside me, but I keep trying to express to them, do you know how cool Mopars are compared to Chevys and Fords? They just did everything better. Look at the advertisement alone. The advertisements alone are better. The colors are better. And they've always been, and one thing I can appreciate about FCA these days is that, like you were saying earlier, they are really in tune with that, just like they were in the 60s and 70s, that enthusiast market, the young crowd, the the performance junkies. They're all about it. And I love it, because I never got to experience the original muscle car era.
Mm-hmm.
So to at least get a taste of that old stuff, but have a whole new modern muscle car era is just something, it's insane. And I'm glad that I at least get to say that I, took part in one of the muscle car eras. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think they're doing a great job with it. I really do. It's exciting. I mean, I hate to say it, but you drive down the road and, Camaro passes, you're like, okay, yeah, Camaro, yeah. A Mustang, yeah, okay. And it's like, then a wide body Challenger passes by or Charger, and you're like neck breaking. Right? Like, oh, what the hell was that?
Yeah. It's tough, man. Let me ask you this. We're
Okay.
going to close it out after this question. I think this is a good one to end on since you're an e-body guy. What do you think about a new Cuda? If FCA was going to bring back a Cuda, what would you want to see in a Cuda?
I'm for it. Absolutely for it. What would I like to see in it? I would like to see it stay kind of true to its roots. It was a people's car, man. It was a fun car. You know, I would like to see it, front engine, rear wheel drive. I would like to. I I don't think it would be received that well by the Mopar crowd if they kind of took like a C8 Corvette approach, like mid-engine, um, kind of import style, European style. I don't know if that would do really well. Um, and I'm a fan of retro. I think the Challenger looks great they have now, So if they had some retro throwbacks to previous generations of the Cuda, man, do it. Bring it back. I'm all on board for it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And I never really thought of it, but I think I would accept a mid-engine car if they said, "Hey, look, we're never bringing back the Viper. The Viper is dead. We just need a cool name." Then I would go, "Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that." But I also don't necessarily want to see a Challenger dressed up as a Cuda. I'm not interested in that either. I want to see something a little bit
Right.
fresher. And I think they could do. Now I'm a fan of the e-body. Don't get me wrong, but hear me out. I really think they could do something with that fastback styling of 67 through 69. I think there's something there, and I think they could really do something with
Mhm.
it. But I guess we'll have to wait and see because who knows if it's ever going to come back. But they brought a Demon back
Yeah.
as a challenger, so it wouldn't surprise me what they do. You know, they always have something up their sleeves. But Blake, it's been a pleasure to have you on. We've been wanting to do this for a while. We've gone 2.5 hours. That's insane. But I want people to know where they can find all your stuff, your social medias, your website. Tell them where they can find Blake Andermann.
You could find us on Facebook at DIY Hemi. Instagram, same thing, at DIY Hemi. And you can go to the website, DIYHemi.com. Reach out to us. They have a contact form. They have good information there for you, some stuff you can take a look at. And if you have some issues, reach out to us. We'd be glad to help.
Awesome. Blake Andermann from DIY Hemi. Thanks again, buddy, for joining me on the show. And if you're up to it, we got to do this again sometime. This was a blast, man. I enjoyed it.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, man.
Awesome. And someday, yeah, I'm with you. Someday, SEMA, beers, we're doing it.
You got it, bud. I'll be there.
Nice. First round's on me. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Direct Connections and my friend, Blake Andermann from DIYHemi.com. There you have it, my friends. Another episode of Direct Connections is in the books. Thanks for joining Blake and I on the show. We had an absolute blast. Remember to visit DIYHemi.com and show Blake some support. He's a great guy, great business, and I see nothing but success for him as time goes on. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I know I sure did, even if we had some technical issues with the audio. That's technology for you, but we worked through it and we made it happen because the show must go on. Even a little technical snafu isn't going to stop the mission to Hemi swap the world. That's not just a clever hashtag, folks. It's a movement. For more information about this podcast or to listen and subscribe to the show, please visit TalkingMopars.com. And don't forget that you can send me your stories, questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, and everything else on your Mopar addicted mind to Chris at TalkingMopars.com, or leave me a voice message on my voicemail box at 209-28-MOPAR to hear yourself on the show. Also, I am late in launching the Talking Mopars merchandise store, but it is live now. So check the show description for the link. It will also be up on the website. Just click on the store tab to take you to the goods. We have a couple designs up with more on the way, including limited edition shirts that will be really cool, but only available for a limited time. So be sure to snatch them up when you see me post about them or when you hear me talk about them on the show. You can purchase cool things like t-shirts, hoodies, and more in the store. We'll have stuff for guys, gals, and even the little Mopar hunters too. So if you want to help support the show and get some cool stuff at the same time, follow the link in the show notes or just jump on over to TalkingMopars.com. That's it, folks. Until we talk again, I am your host, Chris Albrecht, and that was Talking Mopars Direct Connections.
Thank you for listening to Talking Mopars, your direct connection to all things Mopar. Until next time, remember, no Mopar left behind.